Oh, viewers may have had an interruption to service. That one I'm not too worried about. That one, to reload you. Am I getting any streaming? I don't know. Feel free to type a message. I seem to keep crashing out tonight and losing the stream. Can't even get the Facebook page to load. Data connectivity issues. Literally can't get Facebook to load either. It does look. It does look like I might still be live. I am moving. I am here. Yeah, there's some activity. Wow. Yeah, crashed. I keep losing my connection. It drops off and then it comes back. Last time it dropped off, I quit everything, but this time it just seems to recover after about a minute or so. Transoceanic Crashers Club. Sounds like a good club, the TCC. Well, it's working for a moment. I'll continue my activity of getting rid of the harsher areas of the weathering pencils from AK Interactive, which I'm using on here, by using water on the vehicle to push it into the corners, almost like it's going on like a wash, but it is very a very thin and interesting experience, because unlike a wash, it's not drying and then forming tide marks. It's just a lot more subtle, so you don't get that that tide mark as a wash dries and you think, oh, it's too late now, I've ended up with too strong a tone of paint, but you can't really do anything about it. With this, you can just keep pushing it until you've got it into a position you're happy with. Oh yeah, I did put a lot around that area at the back here, so I'm just going to run that down mostly off, but leave it as if it's still a bit muddy and dusty. I'm literally not going to touch anything because Facebook seems to be crashing me out. Thanks, Adam. Yes, thanks, it's working. Crashed, yeah. Yeah, so you can see on that door, it's gone right up the top of that door. But if I now use a slightly moist brush on there, I can pull it all the way down, making it look like sort of mud around the bottom. Actually, what I haven't done here is it's really good for is going into treads on rubber tyres, if you're interested in that. So you see there, it does still come off. But then as soon as you pick some up on the brush, obviously it's you're spreading it around. So it's a case of knowing when to take the brush away and then clean it, and then ready to sort of push down and clean a bit more off. In fact, looking in the camera, it looks quite strong there. You don't really get any streaking at all with it. And yes, it's also doesn't stink of anything, so it's not like you're using any enamel thinners or anything that are going to stink. It does tend to sort of get on your fingers, but I'm sort of grabbing hold of this thing awkwardly and it ends up splashing on me. So maybe I can go in a bit even closer to that. So you can see the activity. See up there, it's a bit heavy underneath that. I mean, it's hardly like I'm trying to do this for showcase or military modelling, but it's quite a sort of fun thing to just sit and do without being too technically challenging, really. You just put it on and then you're rubbing it off. And these pencils, you know, I'm in no way endorsed by them. I wish I could get some endorsements over the years, really, for everything I've sometimes promoted, but yeah, I'm not endorsed in any way by AK Interactive. But these pencils are a couple of dollars each if you start with them, and you could just get one or two that you like for, you know, like a sandy one and a desert one and maybe the chipping pencil. You don't need to buy the big set, which is quite good. I went in deep. I bought the big set because I saw them used at a show, and I thought, oh, I really like those, and I know I'll use them, so I bought the set. Yeah, so the whole thing you can see on the roof. You can see some darker red areas up there. Yeah, so if anybody's got any questions, I'm kind of trying to look at the questions as they come up on the Facebook 15mm Sci-Fi group. See there's a couple of heavy bits. Oh, I've got too much wet on there, but so since I've got some spare pigment off that, I could wash it into the tyres and look like it's been going through that red clay you get in sort of Vietnam. That you see so many of those, you know, there's some really fantastic photos in Vietnam where you can see the vehicles like the M113s covered in really thick reddish mud. There's an area on the back that I haven't attacked. Yeah, so I say I haven't done the whole vehicle, and I think it's worthwhile if you're using it as a sort of muddying up mud type thing. You don't need to do the whole thing. You can leave a few panels looking a bit cleaner. Yeah, I'm just pushing away, cleaning really here with the water, cleaning off the panel, and so it looks a little bit more subtle. I think quite heavy in these spots here, and I could just do with spreading it around a bit. So what I'm going to do is use the same red on the tyres. So I've just wet the end of the pencil again. You can see it's all wet, and then just draw around the tyre. And of course that's going on the outer edge of the nodules on the tyres. Which is worth mentioning actually, these are 3D print. I think John of GZG said, I did a video at Salute and we were talking about these vehicles and how they're actually quite hard to put together. You can do it without glue because they're so fine a tolerance, but I think you know, actually too fine a tolerance really. They could have done with being a little bit easier to put together rather than sort of hammering the thing together when you find that the cockpit area needs a bit of a whack to, and the door as well in the back. They're quite challenging to put together. But yeah, they're 3D printed tyres, 3D designed and then printed and obviously cast. And then vacuum cast and everything into metal. But the fact that they're originally 3D means that they're incredibly detailed, really, as a tyre. You get a decent amount of the tread on show. And so now what I'm doing is just using the water on there, and that's taking the pigment off the outer areas of the tyres and pushing it around into the tread, which, as I was just saying, is sort of nicely detailed, really. The other thing you could do with this, because I was just thinking while I was working on this now, is that you could flick this pigment off the brush as well onto the vehicle. So you could do that sort of flipping method. So the whole thing's looking super grubby now, and obviously you've got a real close-up there, so getting all the warts and all. Oh look, there's a section up there that's been browned but hasn't been washed down. Go into the grill a little bit. Yes, definitely looks like it's been recently off-road for sure. And then it's down to how long you want to spend on it, really. If you want a quick and dirty effect, or you want to spend a long time slowly washing it off the raised areas, letting it dry, and then having a look at what it looks like once dry, and then going again. Probably taken out of the light for you there. So what I can do now, if I get it up close like that, I can take a picture and it will freeze the frame momentarily. Yeah, by freezing the frame like that, you could pause at that moment if you really wanted to get a closer look. I mean, it's not exactly a masterpiece. But yeah, you can see now what does that look like compared to a clean one. And there it is. Slowly drying off. Oh, hi, is that Graham? No, it's someone called... Oh, that's so tiny I can't see it. Let me have a look if I can increase that chat size without crashing everything. Geek Maximus. Hi, Geek Maximus. Thanks for joining in. Yeah, so at the moment I was doing some weathering using these AK Interactive pencils, chipping colour pencils from AK. They're like a waxy, crayony kind of pencil. I've had other people say, couldn't I just use standard sort of watercolour pencils that are already water soluble, which I think you probably could. I don't know if they've done anything particularly different with these. You know how this works really across art hobby segments, as in you see this quite often, don't you? Probably something like this has been available in the sort of artist world for, I don't know, water-based colouring for years, and then someone went, oh, I know, couldn't you just use those for doing weathering on models and miniatures? And then someone said, yeah, buy a bunch of those, just rebrand them, stick our logo on, go to the same manufacturer, don't change anything, and bang, you've got your own, you've crossed a genre, which quite often sort of happens, doesn't it? And you find things are suddenly more expensive or cheaper or something in a different section. You go to an art shop, you could probably buy a pot this sort of size full of acrylic based matte varnish that you could use on your miniatures and would cost you like £6 or something, or $7, $8. Buy it from Games Workshop and you'll get a thimble of the equivalent stuff that's coming out of the same factory in China somewhere, but you're paying £3 for a pot that it's only going to last you a year or something. It seems to me it was the way. Anyway, yeah, I was rambling now, and I'm going to do the chipping now. So I have got the chipping colour here, and the chipping colour is the one that I go on neat. Yeah, Geek. They Maximus. They definitely are good for the 40k as well if you're using AK Dirt Splatter. Yeah, they do pigments. I have some old pigments that are actually MIG ones. In fact, for the life of me, I don't know what the relationship is between AK Interactive and MIG, but AK Interactive seem to sell the MIG products on their site, so I don't know if it's they bought them or MIG bought them, or I don't know which way around it is, but yeah, these are pigments that are similar, and you put them on with a pigment fixer, which I've got a sort of pot of that sort of pigment binder stuff. So it's a slightly different result, and you can't keep moving it around. Once that binder's locked that pigment in, you're not going to be able to shift it around like I'm doing with this. Anyway, so going in with the chipping colour and showing you what that does. Yeah, so as I was saying, I use the weathering first, the weathering pencil, to give it that Vietnam War style mud, like the very red oxide iron. Well, I've just seen another area that I want to put my brush on before I do this though. Yeah, so I did that to give it that sort of recently off-road, covered in a load of mud look. And I did this bit of the weathering first because I didn't want to do the chipping and then find I'm wiping it off. So definitely worth doing the weathering like this if you're using these pencils, unless it was a wash that was a proper pigment drying wash. And then afterwards, once that's drying like it has been doing, I can go in with a chipping pencil. So I'll start at the top there. It's one of those things that takes time, the old chipping pencil, because you do it and then you think nothing's happened, and then suddenly a minute later you've looked and you have got a result that you're quite happy with. And because it's a pencil, you do want to try and use the fact that there's sort of hard bits to rub against. Like there, you can see suddenly I've got what looks like a bit of a chip forming. And this is about as quick a dirtier chip that you can do, because you're just rubbing a pencil over it. You could use like a silver pencil or something as well. I used to have just normal graphite pencils would do this, but this is quite a nice dark pigment that you wouldn't necessarily get the same result from a graphite pencil. So yeah, I'm dragging these quite hard. You could go, I mean, like I said, you could use a sponge for chipping, you could do anything, but this is a very quick way of doing it with this. And the idea is that it is a darker colour, so is a darker colour. Obviously this would be no good doing this on a vehicle that had had dark colouring like a black or anything. You just wouldn't get anything out of it at all. It's beginning to sort of build up as if it's got sort of scratches and things on there. If anything, it also breaks up any even areas so that when your eye looks at it, the whole thing looks sort of weathered, and yeah, you could do some scratches across there as well. So the thing with this, if I now went on with any water, I would of course be stripping off these chips. So you do have to sort of, and my moistness on my hands actually at the moment, it's quite warm here in the UK, is would also do the same thing. And it depends how weathered you want it to look as well. You know, at the front here, it's going to have quite a few bug strikes or whatever on there, and also just look generally weathered. See, that it doesn't look as good when you do put it across a flat surface. So what I would do there is tidy that up a bit. I mean, it's barely noticeable, but a bit of water on there to pull that off. I just don't think as a pencil, when it's hard, you need to sort of draw it across hard areas. You draw it across a large flat area and it's just like a crayon that's not really working. Right, so that's had a lot of that done to it now, and some bits still drying. I'm going to show you something I did earlier, so that if I can find it in my drawers. Oh right, yeah, here they are. So I've got these APCs. I think these are antinosity, aren't they? I have done a video on this on YouTube, so probably some people may have seen it already, but it's just to sort of show you differences in chipping. This guy had his chips done properly, and by that I mean I painted them all. So I did chips on there, doing a kind of a dark blue, but first of all I went on with some lighter colour, and you can see on the top there some chipping too. And that's what happens if you use you can get that effect. Again, it wasn't like I was doing this showcase, so it was a bit quick. So I did some along there, along the edge of here. This could have had some more chipping around those brackets there, hinges even. And then also did some subtle ones sort of on the front. But yeah, you can see generally chipping up everywhere along the side. And then this one, I didn't do any chips on. So this is a kind of a cleaner one, but it does have the weathering pencils on the side there and into the tyres and stuff. Yeah. So yeah, you can get quite good effects with these if you put your time into it. And yeah, this is again one I did earlier, and I put a lot of the rust colour into the flatbed in the back, and then splattered some oil through. In fact, this has been dull coated, and I was going to do one last thing on there, which is those little splats of oil on that one. If I use, so this isn't exactly a pro tip, but it's a tip. I've got some Mod Podge, which is just, and the Gloss Luster one. It's kind of American white glue for schools and things. But because it's the luster, if you get a little bit on an old brush, where I've put those oil dots in there, I mean, it's a really tiny extra detail that's probably not that necessary, but if you want the oil to look quite fresh, just dip it on there, and that will dry and look like little proper splats of oil in the back. Again, I mean, it's a train spotterish like detail in it, isn't it? It's not exactly something you need to worry about too much. It is a 15mm sci-fi model, tiny. But if I get my hairdryer, watch out for the noise. Yeah, so use the old little hairdryer there to dry it off quickly. You can see you get that look of really wet oil just by using a bit of that Mod Podge on some black stains that I put in the back of that flatbed. You know, do you care when you're sci-fi gaming about that level of detail? Probably not, but I remembered I dull coated this, so this is sealed now, and I've used the sort of pencil on here that's the more desert sandy sort of colour, but it's had some reds and things mixed in as well. And then it's been finally dull coated, so it's had some Testors dull coat. But of course, now that's gone, Testors dull coat has dulled everything down, but putting that little bit of Mod Podge in the back there on the oil gives it that kind of gloss look. Yeah, this one's really weathered up, but again, it was done quick. It was done with the same pencils, and you can see that red has gone into the back of the flatbed. Whether that's hi there. Oh, love it. Thanks for that. Whether that has gone in too heavy to make that flatbed look a bit rusty or not, who knows? I've just stuffed it all in there anyway. Oh, and the other thing is this has been dull coated, and you can see those chips that I've just done on the other one. You can see them on the flatbed there. So yeah, all along the flatbed I used the chipping colour pencil. So this is the one that probably is worth getting if you want to do chipping quickly. And on the top, that's had the chips too. Yeah. So overall, it makes them look quite realistic, although they're tiny. As you can see, very small little models. When you're handling and then move them around a table, trying to think what's tabletop height when you're sort of looking down, probably sort of like this, isn't it? When your eyes are a bit closer on the subject matter. Yeah, so that's it. Quick and dirty. Oh, that'll do there. Quick and dirty weathering. So we've got, it's nearly 10:30 in the UK, just checking the watch. And it really depends, how far do you want to go with this? How much do you want to make this look chipped? Do you want to go further and use paints, or are you happy just to sort of brush the chipping pencil over it to get a reasonably good effect? You can see again, that's had the Testors dull coat, and you just see how matte Testors makes a model look, and this has just been painted and then had that weathering on. You see the whole thing has a kind of a little sheen to it, doesn't it? That will go when the Testors is on, because it really kicks something flat. Testors dull coat really does make it flat. Yeah, so, and size-wise again, you can see these Antinosity Workshop, those APCs really quite large, aren't they? I mean, they dwarf that, but it is a military vehicle, isn't it? Yeah, so I was using these in the game. These both had a fielding today, so it's always good, isn't it, to get your painted models. And it's probably worth mentioning that as well, isn't it? Generally speaking, I've got this, obviously, an obsession with models. So like my whole room's full of them. I've got drawers full of models, but the main thing for me is I want to get them into a game. It's always been the case. You know, I think most people with 15mm sci-fi are like that, aren't you? It's not like you're just getting the models for putting in a cabinet somewhere. It's actually you want to use them in a game. You know, probably got that kind of weird obsession that I like small things like, you know, Hot Wheels cars, Matchbox cars when I was a youngster, and Lego, and then moved on to this at school. Obviously started with Middle-earth role-playing kind of models actually when I was about 11 or 12. Some troglodytes, I think I had some pre-slaughter troglodytes which I started painting when I was about 12, 13. Alan, yeah, grinding metal. In fact, I watched the Aliens movie again, what was it, about 4 weekends ago. I just sat down and I watched it, you know, on a Saturday morning, like, you know, when you're a kid and you watch like Saturday morning TV. I did it with Aliens and put it on the whole surround sound and everything. It still holds up, and the dialogue in particular, just the scenes between Sigourney Weaver and that, I can't remember which one is it, Higgs, the one that gets acid on his chest at the end. He really good, strong relationship, and I kind of miss that from some modern films. I guess maybe the big superhero movies, the Endgame and everything, they have a kind of bond between the characters, but it felt really tight in Aliens. Very good dialogue and everything in that. So yeah, I had these out today. I was using them as APCs, and I had a squad in each of them, and they did quite well. We had a kind of anti-personnel weapon on the top which you use. This one's stowed away, but considered they've both got the same weapon really. I guess you could magnetize something in there if you were bothered, but I've just got one in each mode, one with it down and one with it up. Okay, so yeah, that was me weathering. So what else was I going to do? That was it really. I was just going to show the weathering pencils. I've done it on that model. It's quite quick to do. There's one that's finished when it's had its dull coat on as well, and as I say, I just showed you the Mod Podge, which is this stuff, which all it is a shiny white glue. And people use this to do water effects actually if they're doing the model scale train modelling. That's where I saw Mod Podge first, is on a video where someone was doing scale train model layout, and they were doing a lake, and they used layers and layers of this gloss Mod Podge. So I bought some way back for water stuff, but I use it generally as a general white glue. And also, like I said, I used it to do that oil splat in the back of there. And in fact, I have another one with an oil splat. It's just my kind of, you know, you get this thing going, don't you, where you like an effect and then you just keep using it. It's my kind of thing at the moment, oil splats. There's one that hasn't got an oil splat on it, and in fact that one does have chips that I painted on with the dark colour, and you can see they're actually a little bit, they do pop a bit more when you paint a chip on compared to just using that kind of chipping pencil that's a lot more subtle. But you may like it more dramatic or more subtle, who knows. Oh yeah, and we've got a couple in the yellow for more, if I was doing a, you know, just wanted something to look like a more of a civilian yellow flatbed. I'm into these flatbeds. I really, that's why you can see I got 3 of them. Yeah, I do like these Ground Zero Games flatbeds. But yeah, I did the oil splat in the back of that one as well. This one, these ones, the yellow ones, and I've got a few of them, I really took a lot longer on them And in fact, being yellow, which obviously gives them a slight sci-fi feel to them, it means they take the dark, rusty colours and things much, much better. The only thing I did on here as well, I used one of the sort of whiter sandy colours to make it look like it had a kind of dust on there as well as the dirt. What else has this one had? Well, it's obviously got some decals. I didn't do any decals on the military ones, but I probably should have put a water slide thing or two on there. I think it would have made it... I could still do it, I guess. But yeah, I really went to town on the weathering on these and made the flatbed look like it was completely rusted up and chipped. I have plans for these. I want to talk about that just before I sign off, actually. I had plans for what I was going to do in the flatbeds to make them look like a technical, really. I just need to find out where the models are for them. I think I got a sack of models, and that was it. You can see my bare feet down there. It's warm over here. I've got my shorts on. That's the only thing that's bare, the feet. So these are some GZG candy in here, and yeah, I've got a couple, and I put them on because I was going to mount them on these discs. I've kind of got them on ready with their discs in the bags. But yes, they're some of the newer GZG sort of ground mount weapons, and although I've put discs in the back, I probably I wanted to use them, or some of them at least. I may have stowed them away somewhere else. All of these new guns he's had 3D designed and then printed in 15mm, and they are amazing detail. That's not going to... Is that going to go in there at all? That is. Tolerances allow it to stay in there. So let's zoom in, and I've been using the Testors clear coats forever. Yeah, it's the best stuff. It smells like if you breathe too much of it you get lung cancer, but it is amazing stuff. So there's one of these newer style GZG weapons. They're 3D printed, and then he obviously casts them off the master, but they are terrific. Look at that, it's got that cooling case on the front and the tiny details down there on the side. But I was going to do them up so that they could just be sat as like a technical in the back of there. And in fact, I was almost thinking at a point in time I might, forget it in focus, I might even magnetize it rather than make it a dead cert, and then I could say, okay, I've got a mortar in the back of that one, or I've got a heavy machine gun, or whatever it happens to be in the back, possibly even magnetize it, but I don't know. So really it's about the right size to take the weapon plus one of the crew, and this applies to all of John's sort of ranges of models. They is that guy standing beside it, so that's no good. This is the man on the thing, and yeah, so he can probably fit in there really nicely. I'll get it in focus. So yeah, oh, clumsy hands. Oh, he's done, he's in. So I just rest my arm along the finger on the top there. And you see, there you go. Looks like quite a nice technical, doesn't it, using the flatbed? And you could shift it around a bit if you wanted to make it look like it wasn't completely just shooting out the back, but I think generally speaking, you could, yeah, you could move it around or just leave it straight if that's your thing. So all the little bits and pieces for this are rather neat as well. So there's a second one of the ammo feeds that just glues in the side on there, and it's this cute little round ammo feed. It has one already on the other side of it, and that second one goes on the other side if you want. It also has sort of, what are these? Oh, there's a shield. There's yeah, that's probably going to go up underneath, isn't it? Yeah, it's going to go up underneath as a shield. So that's really finely made as well, very tiny. So that's my plan for the flatbeds anyway. I want to get them into the game, and to get them into the game, I want to be able to make them more than just a unit that's just used as a bit of cover, really. So put a decent mobile heavy machine gun, or let's have a look if I've got one of the other ones that he does. No, that's the same one, the heavy machine gun again in that pack. I know there's a really nice sort of mortar. I think that's like a heavy mortar. Let's see if that's worth digging that out. Because a mortar on the back of a truck is fun as well, isn't it? Yeah, let's just look at the mortar. Tidy those alien style APCs from Antenosity's workshop away. Pull these guys out. And yeah, how does it fit together? So it just gives you a disc. And then that. I'm obviously missing a piece. Maybe that's it. I really can't work out how that works. Does it just sit there like that? Maybe they do. Maybe they don't have like a mount or something. It's certainly got 2 cases of mortars that go with them on the side there, and a guy with a kind of iPad, iOS 12 mortar control, and someone sighting with some laser guys there. So that's obviously just how it is, because I've got 2 of those and they both don't have anything other than a disc plate, unless there's something odd like that plate was meant to have it leaning against it or something. No, I'll need to look at their website for that and just check. Am I missing a bit of the mortar connection? What could possibly be it? I just want to check, because I'm sure I've got another one of the types of weapons in here that will be worth showing off. Got some powered armour. I can't remember which ones these are. NAC powered armour. I particularly like the face masks on those for powered armour. I think they'd look great with a kind of a red visor in a dark brown or something, or a green brick glass visor in there. And they come with different arm weapon options like fists, or a kind of a heavy machine gun on the side. So that's some nice power armor that I've got to do. So I'll pack all these away, and that's that machine gun. That's just another one of those guns, so I'll put it in the same. Another quick look at that. Very, very nice piece of hardware. Very tiny and fine detail. Let's zoom in and get a picture of it. So you can see I've put the canister on the side. It's got a canister already on there, and then you get an extra one that's just fallen off into my finger. I'm going to freeze it. Here we go, photo coming up. That wasn't the best of photos. That's better. So yeah, those are nice. And I bought a few of the various different ones. Ah, there's another one. There's another. Look at this one. So this is more like a LMG rather than a HMG, or maybe it's like a rail gun or something. But yeah, it has ammo cans with it, and then a much larger looking machine. Yeah, maybe like a, could be projectile because it has ammo cans, but maybe it's more of a sort of a mini rail gun. Could be energy cartridge, couldn't it? Yeah, it certainly feels like more of a one-shot rather than a multi-shot machine gun, doesn't it? More of a powerful single-shot weapon. And a little crew guy there as well. In fact, I think, is that one? Yeah, same sort of sitting down chap. that one's I guess that one's more of a kneeler, isn't he? So he's more appropriate for that kneeling. Will that go in the back of a flatbed? That's the big question for me again. So let's see. Yes, it will. So here we have some sort of railgun sitting in the back of a technical flatbed, ready to go to field. So yeah, what would I do with these? I'm half tempted to do a very thin plastic sheet insert that fills the entire, or at least fills most of it, and use some plastic sheeting, like textured sheet. So I'm looking for that now. Yeah, so I have this sort of textured sheet, and something like that, or I've got ribbed sheet, but I don't think I've got ribbing as strong as the flatbed style of one. So maybe I'd fit that in and glue the guy and the gun onto that. Well, I could leave them separate. It just feels neater to be able to have them on a little base thing. They just slots in there, so then you could switch them out for different weapon types. Yeah, so that's a bit of another Train Spotterish-like detail in terms of how we do this. This is how we kind of roll with 15mm. So, back to me. See if I can get this to work. Me, okay, yeah. So thanks for viewing. Sorry I've had loads of technical problems tonight. Trying to sort of show off working through painting this 15mm sci-fi kind of a Jeep thing. It could be used as an APC. It could take one crew, one small squad in there, couldn't it? Like a squad of 4 or something. Squad of 6 maybe. Sitting in the back. But probably there's a load of gubbins technically underneath the guy in the gun on the top, who knows. But yeah, that's what I've been showing, and thanks for listening in, and hopefully come back. Always welcome to ask me questions and things while I'm trying to work away. So cheers, thanks very much. I shall turn off now. Hits the